It is so exciting for me to come back to this place of what I would say was my enlightenment, my first real excitement as being a part of University of Oregon and getting into the whole world of design, but to share with you about a particular project that was all about empowerment of others. And I think in particular, this project is one that really needed to be birthed at University of Oregon. I like to think that, okay, I'll brag on my ducks a bit. I like to think that, hey, we're in the state of Oregon. I think we're all about pioneer. We're all about, in a sense, almost the last frontier. And it's a place where innovation can really happen in an exciting way. And even thinking about these things, I came out of architecture program. And to think about where we are as an architecture school, the architecture school is thought of throughout the United States as being, or is known as being, the #1 sustainability program in terms of teaching sustainability in all of America. So it's really exciting to think about the types of things that we're into here at U of O, and I think there's nothing better than sustainability when it comes to what's going forward in terms of materials, processes, and how we actually work with the earth. But I want to talk to you about a project that is really about product design. In the same way as architecture would enlighten the world through its sustainability, I want to talk to you how a particular project would empower, a project of product design would empower the body, and that's towards adaptability. So inspired by Alito, I'm still like dancing in my spirit right now. That was so good. But in terms of the body and to adaptability, I really think that there's a lot of amazing insights here. And I want to share with you, first off, a quote about the body that I think is one of the most inspiring things I've seen before. Actually, Bill Bowerman, right here. He's the legendary coach of University of Oregon, a powerful figure in our historic history. And Bill was such an innovator in the way that he thought. And, he says, if you have a body, you are an athlete. And what a way of thinking. I think that, once again, that was just demonstrated. You're right, there is really a divine order to this presentation today. But the notion that if you have a body, you are an athlete is incredible. And Bill, by thinking that broadly, he wrote a book called Jogging in the early 70s. And the book really started to articulate and inspire the whole nation in the jogging craze. So that really came from out of Oregon, and the whole jogging craze. But another inspiring quote I want to mention to you is the person right there on Bill's right is actually Phil Knight. I should know that name. It's actually Phil Knight. And Phil, the great thing about Mr. Knight, he was a runner for Bill Bowerman. And one of the things that he always says, he says, listen to the voice of the athlete. And so it's really cool when I think of if you have a body, you're an athlete, and then listen to the voice of the athlete. That's really the center of this whole theme that I want to talk about. And so that's what this focus is. And these athletes are absolutely incredible. They're athletes who I'm going to be talking to you about, who are so inspiring and take us to whole new ways. When you think of diversity, when you think of opportunity, they enlighten into new places, and hopefully we can add to their empowerment. And the athletes I want to talk about, before I get there, I just want to share this one image here. Actually, I had the joy, I had to share this because I'm here in the Eugene area, and the Bowerman estate, or where they lived, I won't say estate, that's kind of a big word, but they lived right outside of Eugene here, and I had the pleasure of going up there and sitting at his feet back in the early 90s, and several of the people in this picture are all very dear to me in terms of colleagues and friends, but just to be there with the Bowermans and to hear him talk about what it really means to serve the athlete was so inspiring. And to think of the athlete in each one of us. I mean, you see the importance of movement and how we all need to continue to move. That's what our bodies was meant to do in terms of movement. So I want to talk to you about this particular inspiring group of athletes and a level of study that we've been doing. A class that we've been doing at University of Oregon in Portland at the BFA program is Adaptive Products Enabling Athletes. And right now I have to kind of hesitate because I feel a little uncomfortable with those last two words, enabling athletes with disabilities. Because I don't really want to think of anybody, especially as Lito shared with the Ability Dance Group. I don't want to label anybody as a dissa anything, because especially considering even myself and where I come from, and being a marginalized, for my life as being an African American, just because of skin color, I don't want to be looking at anybody in this particular group outside of actually being an ability athlete. And to me, it's all about the opportunities and the abilities that we can afford them and bring them into, just like any athlete, just like any person. So I want to share with you right now a little bit about the class.
I heard 3 pops. Tried to yell grenade. There were 2 that went off underneath my feet. My legs were mangled.
I spent 18 months at war, and I was on my way home. I got in a car accident, and the doctors told me I'd never walk again.
We ran into an ambush. My vehicle got hit with an IED blast, and the next thing I remember is waking up in Germany.
The Adaptive Athlete Program at the University of Oregon in Portland has 15 students and 2 professors working with 3 elite athletes.
The product design program at the University of Oregon is that perfect sort of synthesis and convergence of athletics and academics.
Empathy that would come forth in terms of connecting with the athletes becomes a catalyst for really great design.
It's not just about making objects, but it's about understanding people and understanding how people and objects work together.
We're at Mount Hood, and we're observing Kevin Panel here. He's an adaptive athlete.
It's really about an opportunity to address design in a whole new way.
We're just documenting and seeing how he rose.
Tell me a little bit more about the grip.
This is the final panic and put everything on your board stage.
These students did an incredible job. They built and curated collections of devices and apparatus that actually enable athletes to do more.
Anthony Davis, I wanted to help him fly across the water so he could take gold in Rio.
So my goal this term is to allow Kevin to have a more comfortable and more convenient snowboarding experience.
Tonight was the very last review, and it was really exciting.
I got a lot of positive feedback.
Everyone has grown so much in this term, and I think that shows in everyone's projects.
Really proud of you guys. You exceeded my expectations.
All right. This is Will Grow. Will Grow is a wheelchair rugby player. He's like an amazing wheelchair rugby player. He's one of the best in the world. And but Will, I tell you, if you've ever seen, has anybody seen the sport of wheelchair rugby? I mean, it is totally inspiring. You can get so into the sport and into the whole performance of it. But Will, as a wounded warrior athlete, is actually paralyzed from the chest down. But you see that he goes for it. He can put himself in any kind of uncompromising position in the sport. And it's just really powerful the way that he is so inspired as an athlete. One of the most inspiring ones I've ever met. But one of the things we were working about was we had about 4 students working on different concepts. What could we do to help Will in his journey in sport and athletics? And one of our students, Ryan Fiorentino, was working on the idea of a harness for Will, because Will, as he moves, there would be some movement that would go around, and there wouldn't be as much sternum control with his movement. And he put the ball, but he was still very smart and so able to maneuver around. He's still one of the greatest in the game. But Ryan was thinking, hey, if we could design a vest that could go around his body and lock right into the wheelchair, we could actually leverage using the wheelchair and leverage his body and his movements and then lock him in. So we put that in there, and sure enough, Willie puts the ball in his lap, and he just really is able to move and torque. And it was great. The other day, I actually had lunch with Will just a couple days ago. He happened to be out at the campus at Nike, and he I was asking him, I said, hey, what about that, the vest that we've been working with? And he's like, oh, he was so excited about it, because he says the great thing about it is, he said, that it really locks him in. He feels like he's one with the wheelchair. He says when he's down this way, it's really great. When he leans back and wants to spin around, that's giving him support. He says everywhere he moves on it, it's giving support. And the great thing about that is, I believe in sports and in athletics, people want to become one with their equipment. They don't want to be concerned about this piece of equipment or where is it at in relation to me. You need to lock in and not be even concerned even thinking about it. And so this particular concept worked that way. Well, one of the fun things, so Ryan, after the class was over, Ryan went and we started to further develop this project. And we actually got with a company called TerraZan, with Bill Dieter and TerraZan. And we went over there and started to develop a harness even further with them, and to see if we could get something for the Paralympics of 2012 in London. And so as we were working on it, we got this harness better together. And actually, when Will would go and practice with his team, there were four other athletes who really loved it, and they wanted to participate in it also. And what I wanted to show you were these were four of the athletes. What's in their blue jerseys underneath is what represents that harness that's underneath their uniforms. And so anyway, it's exciting. This team performed well, and they actually won a bronze medal in the 2012 games. And the cool thing about that is a student product that started in January was actually a medal winner in August. And that's a pretty exciting program. I'm excited about that. It's pretty cool. So very, very inspired by that. I'm going to tell you about another dear athlete. This is Gabby. And Gabby, she is a runner. She's an incredible runner, and she's been running all her life. She's just a really excellent runner. And but she actually runs, and she has a short arm. Her right arm was born, short to this place, and her hand's right there. And so we were working with Gabby, and Gabby wanted to transition into being a triathlete. Now, triathletes are all about run, bike, and swim. And so you're actually participating in all three of those sports. And so we had 4 students working with her, and several of them were working on, apparatus, different details to help her to swim or to bike, which was really, an interesting thing in terms of balance and what do you do with a bike, and to run. But there was also this one student, Charlie Hartzell, who was inspired in a slightly different way. He started looking at Gab, and he was thinking about how triathletes need to recover quickly, say if they're injured along the route, if something happens, and how can you recover quickly? And these are some of Charlie's sketches, and he was thinking about a Band-Aid. How's she going to put on a Band-Aid? Something that simply says, I'm going to create a Band-Aid that you can put on with one hand. And so Charlie started to look at this, and it was basically like, and there it is, a switch with a switch on the arm, and there it is. And the exciting thing about this concept that I love is, how many of us wouldn't mind having a one-handed Band-Aid? I mean, we deal with, you're bleeding, and you're trying to get the packaging off, and all this stuff is it's one of the most arduous experiences. But here was a great concept, a great design that Charlie did, and it was particularly inspired by Gabby. It was inspired by her, and he wouldn't have got there without her inspiration. So I just want to talk about, as the theme of this whole conference, that diversity, especially when it's broad, brings opportunity for those who have their eyes open, for those who are looking. So look at that place, like that amazing dance we just saw. The diversity brings opportunity for a whole new world of enjoyment to all of us. Sure, one more athlete here. I'm going to talk about Anthony Davis. And Anthony Davis was actually in the film before. He was with us in 2013, and also in our winter class we just finished. We had 4 students working with Anthony, and he's a double. He wants to be a double participant in the Paralympics of 2016 in Rio. So he's focused both on rowing and he's focused on hand cycling. And you see Anthony's got quite an amazing upper body, but his injury was that when he was returning from the war, he got in a car accident and lost the use of his limbs below his waist after a car accident. Although it's amazing how he still can maneuver and walk and do other things, even though it's just, technically that's what they would say. But Anthony is one of the most inspiring people I've ever known. And he's just, he's just a real inspiration. But anyway, this is for 2016. He's going to be doing this, the hand cycle competition. So we had 4 students, which was Katie Lee and Stefan Christopol and Andre Brown and Scott Warnke. And they were four great students. They were basically working on a design for a bike. As we were watching Anthony here he is moving. And this bike that he's on right now, he's kind of upright, and this is a training bike supposedly for the Olympics. But we were watching his movements, and he's trying to get up the hill, and just what can we do to help him in this whole experience? Well, the students set out, they said, we've got to get this done. We got to do something great for Anthony. And they came up with this bike here. And this bike, it's kind of inspired by Spider-Man's nemesis, the Green Goblin, and I tell you, it's over the top. But the great thing is that ergonomically, it's got Anthony at the right angle, it's got him at a power angle, it's got him where he can actually move. And the cool thing about it was, when we were presenting this at the end of winter term, there were several cyclists who were like envious and saying, now, I want that hand cycle. I mean, just, people who are regular cyclists, because honestly, there's a lot to do with the seat, there's a lot to do with the details that is really ergonomically right for when you're pedaling and when you're moving. And so being inspired by Anthony, it was a wonderful thing. But I wanted to show how this actually goes even just a little further, was that after this, and after doing kind of this theoretical story and basically creating this great thing, but now exciting, the students want to do more. When you get to know these athletes and you get in their lives and it becomes a relationship and you want to help them achieve their goals. And it was really exciting. The students were pushing for, let's do something special for Anthony. And we were able to get with Nike Innovation, with Tinker Hatfield, another great graduate from U of O. And Tinker just said, well, let's get him a bike. Let's just get him a bike that he can perform in and that he can train in, so to get him a real bike. And so the cool thing about this to me is that it went from science project, it went from something that was just kind of this thing that Anthony was lending himself in a sense to us, to where it actually becomes very visceral and very real. And that's what continues to happen with these projects, is it's never about just the theoretical. And good design is not about that. Good design performs for people. Good design solves problems. It's not just beautiful, it solves problems. So I've had a really wonderful journey here working on this. And it's exciting here once again to be going from enlightenment and then talking about this whole experience of empowering athletes. I've had a joy over the years at Nike. I've got to work with people like with Serena, with Michael, with Andre Agassi. But now it's really great to get to work with Will and with Gabby and with Anthony Davis. And I feel like they're all athletes, just a spectrum. And in some ways, there's real amazing inspiration over here, especially with the athletes that I spoke about. And I just want to challenge you as young people. I mean, I love a quote by Bobby Kennedy. He says, some men see things as they are and say, why? I dream things that never were and say, why not? You have the ability through design, you have the ability through just reaching out and doing what you can to really touch and change lives, and you're creative, and you can think, and you can actually take us to that next place. The Bible even says, do not despise your youth. I mean, do not let anyone despise your youth. You're the ones with the ideas, and that's what's so cool. So, thank you very much.